Jack, return of the Jack, return of... I'm back! I hate myself too. Elaborate intro over, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week I wanted to talk about my experience of working in Topman / Topshop, and I wanted to retell some of my stories from working there. I hate myself too. So, as I said, I worked for Topman for just under 2 years, and I had such a positive experience. I actually really loved it. My contract was an 8-hour one, so I was supposed to work 4 hours on a Saturday and 4 hours on a Sunday. I'd say the biggest preconception and misconception I had was that all of the staff would be quite bitchy and judgmental and rude. I don't know, like, I just had that in my head before I started working there, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Like, the people I worked with were the loveliest people. I did have one manager when I first started there who was only there for about the first month that I worked there, so I joined in September and he'd left by the end of October, who was very rude. My first proper experience with him was when I was selling an old man, like, he must have been maybe in his 70s, like I was selling this man a belt, right? And the phone starts ringing and the manager goes and picks up the phone and just started arguing back with this person who was complaining, but effing and blinding and shouting and being rude and being sassy and rolling his eyes and like cussing under his breath. It was awful. I was so embarrassed because I was serving this customer and this was all going on right next to him, right in front of him, and I was like, I had to apologise to this man, and I'd been working at the company for like a week, and this guy was the manager, and I was apologising on behalf of the manager for being so rude. He also made quite a few people cry in his time. He was just not a very nice person, but he left after that, so that was fine. A new manager actually came in when I'd been working there for about 6 months, who was just the loveliest woman. Her name was Anna. I still think she's great. I think she's the best manager I ever could have had. She was so nice. Also, just to prove how much she cared about her employees, basically we had a kind of double car park space at the back of the building where which was a staff only car park, and the first time when I passed my driving test I asked her if I could park there and she was like, obviously you can, it's a staff car park, you work here. But even so, I just need constant reassurance. Like, I could be married to someone for about 8 years and I'd still be like, I'm not sure if they like me that much. Anyway, personal issues aside, I went to park my car in the car park 2 hours before my shift, because I used to go to the local library before my shifts and do some work because I was studying for my A-levels at the time. So I did that, came into work, turned up, I saw her first, and she came up to me and she was like, oh, did you have any trouble parking? And I was like, oh, I had a bit of trouble finding a space, but I got there in the end. Like, I was joking because there were only 2 spaces, like, pretty easy to find a space, there were only 2 of them. Right? So then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought she was joking at this point. Anyway, so then an hour or so later, I'm working my shift upstairs, like I'm just at the till, and she comes up to me and she says, I've got them. I've got them. And I'm like, who have you got? Like, who have you got? So basically, to cut a long story short, what happened was, because I parked in the car park early, she didn't realise that was my car, because of course she'd never seen my car before. So she thought that some random member of the public had parked in my space, which they quite often did. So when she turned up to work, she saw someone parked in my space. So when she said, did you have any trouble parking? She thought I'd had to go elsewhere. And obviously me just being a sarcastic arsehole, I was like, oh yeah, it was really hard. I hate myself too. So what she had done was she went out to the staff car park and grabbed these huge like industrial bins. They'd got like 3 members of staff to wheel them around the car, so blocking the car in. So as I said, she comes up to the till, speaks to me, and she's like, I've got them, like I've nailed this, I've blocked them in. And I'm like, Anna, that's my car. So anyway, that's a long way of saying my manager was the best manager ever. She just cared so much about all of us and would look out for us, and yeah, it was great. So thanks, Anna, if you're watching. Really appreciate that. One of the biggest benefits of working for Topman was, of course, the staff discount. So we used to get 25% off everything all the time with our staff cards, but also 60% off 5 items every 3-ish months. Obviously, the point being that someone can then come into the store, see what you're wearing and be like, I want a piece of that cake, and then you give them the t-shirt and they can buy it. It's quite a simple concept. I don't know why it's taken me so much to explain it. But while I'm on the topic of being inspired by other people's clothing, I wanted to talk to you all about 21 Buttons. I'm sure you've heard of it by now because pretty much everyone is on 21 Buttons now, but basically it's an app where you can upload pictures of your outfits, of your clothes, then you tag individually each item of clothing so other people can then shop your look. I actually have an account which I will put on the screen now so you can see, but I kind of put up like pictures I don't put anywhere else on the internet, so they're exclusive to 21 Buttons, with links to the clothes that I own, because people always ask me over on Instagram and stuff, where are your clothes from? So you can head over to my 21 Buttons and see what I wear, what loads of other influencers wear, see loads of exclusive content, and buy it really, really easily. The link to my account will be in my crotch somewhere, and I'm actually going to take a picture of this exact outfit. I'm wearing some funky trousers, not that you could see, I could be naked down here. I would definitely say that most of my kind of clothing inspiration comes from street style and from social media and from seeing what other people wear. So this platform is like the best thing for me. Plus, like, nudity is generally frowned upon, so we all need clothes. Back to working in Topman / Topshop now, and the reason I say I worked in Topshop actually is because basically when we were quiet upstairs and Topshop, who were permanently understaffed, I had to go down there and kind of do like front of house and that kind of thing. I mean, I just had no clue what was going on when I went down to the Topshop bit, because women's clothing, let me tell you, is so much more confusing than men's clothing. All men's clothing is just t-shirts, shirts, sweatshirt, hoodie. It's all pretty much the same shape and easy to fold. They all just fold in the same way. Women's clothing, different kettle of fish. There's pieces of fabric over here, there's a cutout here, this bit's wider than this bit. Like, it's so confusing. What the hell is going on? Also, from working down there, I have an unnecessarily huge knowledge of women's clothes and all the different names for them. Like, the jeans in Topshop have the most ridiculous, there are so many different names for them. People would come in and they'd go, oh, can you point me to the culottes or the bralettes? And I'm like, I've got no idea what that means. So I'd kind of just point them, like, generally in the direction of another member of staff. Like, oh, if you look over there, kind of where my colleague is, and just look confused, hopefully they will help you. So I did much prefer working in Topman, although I have to say, like, my actual job description was sales assistant, although sometimes I felt like a manager. And I only mean that in the sense that I was thrown in at the deep end. Like, I think in my second or third shift, I worked the shop floor completely on my own on a Saturday, which is like the busiest day. Downstairs in the Topshop, they would kind of delegate tasks, so someone would be on the changing rooms, someone would be tidying up the shop, someone would be on the till, someone would be at front of house. I had to do all of those jobs all at once, and it was carnage. The one thing I would say about a retail job that people who have never worked one won't know is the amount of hours you have to work overtime, which you don't get paid for. My Sunday shifts would end at 4, but the shop closed at 4. So firstly, there's always that one person who comes in as the doors are closing, who just wants to buy a skirt, and they come in and they spend about 6 years trying on skirts. Like, we're the ones who have to wait for you and then tidy up after your mess, even though we finished at 4. It's not our fault that you just came in. Anyway, so I spent a lot of time just staying for an extra 15 minutes or just staying for an extra half an hour, and that time eventually does add up. Like, we had to finger space all the hangers and stuff, so when people just came and like knocked things off the rails or just muddled up the order, like, it was so annoying. Also, what is it about a sale that makes people go completely feral? Like, people just lose all of their humanity. They turn into absolute animals as soon as they see a sale sign in an otherwise respectable store. Sales were the worst. On the most part, I would say that customers were generally quite nice to me as a member of staff. You know, people generally were quite kind and treated me with respect. It's always the young people. The young people are always so nice. It's always the middle-aged people who are rude, okay? And I would just like to remind you that even a carrier bag costs you 5p these days, but being nice is still free. The worst experience that I had was when we first started charging for the carrier bags, actually, and this bloke bought a pair of shoes, and I'd spent ages with him, like, trying on all the shoes, finding the perfect pair for this wedding he was going to. Anyway, he gets up to the till, and he's buying these shoes that were in the sale, so they were like half price anyway. He buys his shoes, and he asks for a carry bag, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, that's 5p, is that okay? And he's like, what? And there is fury behind his eyes. He cannot believe the fact that he will have to pay 5p for that piece of plastic. And of course, as a sixth form student who has absolutely nothing to do with government legislation, this is my fault. So he's trying to threaten me, saying he'll never shop in the store again if I don't give him a carrier bag, and I'm like, to be honest, mate, I couldn't care less. Please don't come here again. So I just politely explained, as I always had to do when this charge first came in, that it was a government legislation, it had nothing to do with us as a company, it had nothing to do with me, you just had to pay 5p for a carrier bag. That's just the way it was. And he responded by throwing the shoe at me. Like, literally, I was winded by this shoe, which he threw right into my gut, and then he just ran out of the shop without the shoe or the carrier bag. So, I mean, there you go. At least we saved a turtle or something. Another retail horror story, if you will. I was just having a conversation with one of my colleagues. We're just having a chat. I'm telling her a story. We're just getting to the peak, and then someone has the audacity to interrupt. So this guy comes over and he's like, oh, hey, I was just looking at the shoes, and I really like this pair of shoes, but I've noticed that you don't have them in my size. However, I can see on the mannequin that his feet look about my size. Are those shoes my size? The shoes were his size. They were on the mannequin, which, may I just tell you, is like nailed to the floor. So the three of us, the two members of staff and this random member of the public, are like unscrewing a mannequin from the floor. lifting him up onto the till, kind of like a medical patient. So we have this mannequin on the till, we're having to kind of amputate and undress him at the same time, which, I mean, maybe some people are into. Anyway, so we get his shoes off. I can't believe I just said that. We finally managed to wrestle the shoes off of this man, and his foot kind of comes with it. But anyway, the guy tries on the shoes from the mannequin, decides he doesn't like them anymore. He would like them in the blue colour, which is on the shelf. So he leaves with his new purchase, which was on the shelf the whole time, and we have to then redress the mannequin, put his body parts back together, and then put him back onto the podium he was supposed to be on, all whilst still serving a shop. So this is all going on whilst, you know, the shop is filled with customers, and there are only 2 of us working on the shop floor. Do I have any other horror stories? One time this lady brought her child in and he literally had a wee on the shop floor, which I then had to clear up, which was disgusting, by the way. Speaking of bodily fluids, one time we had to do this thing called ASO, which stands for all sizes out. So you have to check that you've got all of the sizes of all of the clothes that you have on the shop floor. So we're doing this, and the stockroom was basically the floor above. So I was on the shop floor and my colleague was on the top floor, and we're talking through walkie-talkies, checking if we have all the sizes out. He doesn't even know this. I'm so sorry, Chris, if you're watching, but basically he's talking to me on the speakers, and he's like, oh, do we have size small, size medium in the pink jumper? I had been not very well that day. Like, I'd eaten something that disagreed with my stomach, and I just suddenly, you know when you have to go, you have to go. And I was too embarrassed to say over the walkie-talkie, Chris, I really need to poo. Please, can you come back to the shop floor? I went to the staff toilets, did what I had to do while still speaking to him on a walkie-talkie, pretending I was on the shop floor. So he's upstairs going to me like, oh, do we have the cream hoodie in the size large? And I'm literally sitting on the toilet going, give me 1 sec, I'm just checking. Yeah, no, we don't have that. Sorry, could you bring one down? Chris, I'm so sorry if you're watching. I can't believe I'm saying this on the internet. Another time that I got seriously stuck was when I had this like shirt on, and as I closed the till, so you know, like the till that has money in, obviously, it locks when you shut it, and it can only be opened when you do a transaction. I shut the till, went to walk away, and suddenly I felt a pull and realised that my shirt that I was wearing was stuck in the till. And as I said before, I worked on the shop floor pretty much on my own most days, so I just kind of had to wait there, stuck at the till, until someone came to save me who could unlock the till for me. I also worked in retail over Christmas, and Christmas sales and Christmas shopping is the worst thing. I must have heard the 4 same Christmas songs on repeat for about 3 weeks, and it was hell. But when I would go and do deliveries, it was kind of in like a back room, so we'd go into this room and do the deliveries, so just unpacking things, putting tags on them, putting hangers on them and stuff like that. And I would play from my phone Michael Bublé's Christmas album, which is objectively the best Christmas album of all time. But one time a customer actually went up to my manager and asked her if she was aware that one of her members of staff was, and I quote, shrieking the words to Santa Claus is coming to town in the back room. And after that, I wasn't allowed to listen to my Michael Bublé Christmas album anymore. What can I say? Even retail staff love the boobster. We're all human, okay? And I think it's about time I wrapped up this video, because I've just revealed way too much about all of the things I did when I worked in retail, basically when I just got in trouble. But thank you very much for watching this video. Remember, you can tell everything you ever need to know about a person by the way they treat retail staff and restaurant workers. So just be nice to people, okay? Working in Topman / Topshop was one of the best experiences ever for me. I can't thank them enough for employing me, and I had such a good almost 2 years. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Check out my link to 21 Buttons down below, where I'll be posting loads of pictures, including this outfit that I'm wearing right now. Woohoo! Please do subscribe to this channel if you're new, leave me a comment, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye bye.